Today I wanted to make something with you using 3 of my favorite ingredients: croissants, chocolate, and custard. I love anything in custard. This is kind of French toasty, so it could be used for breakfast, but it's not too sweet. So you could have it as a snack, and it's very European, and I love stuff like this. And who doesn't love chocolate in a croissant? So anyway, I actually have here 4 croissants, and I'm going to start by taking a serrated knife. Serrated knives work best to cut bread, but if you have a regular knife, that's fine too. Okay, and so notice what I'm doing. Just trying to get it as even as possible, but cutting them in half. So I've got 4 croissants, I've already cut these couple here. All right, so what we're gonna do, and I have melted some chocolate in the microwave, and you do this very gently and carefully, but there it is, all melted. And as far as the chocolate goes, you can use, you could use just regular semi-sweet chocolate chips. If you prefer milk chocolate, you use that. If you want white chocolate, you can do that. I like a little bit darker, and so I have what is called a French chocolate that I buy at a specialty store. Anyway, and so I've melted this, and I use usually 1 ounce per croissant, per serving. So I have 4 ounces of chocolate that I've melted here. And I'm going to just try to divide this as evenly as possible on the bases. Oop, that's not a base. Not that it would really matter. Okay. Time for a spoon. All right. That's looking pretty good. All right. There we go. Now, that's done, and we're going to take just a knife or an offset spatula. I'm going to spread this around the bottom evenly as possible. Get to the close to the edges. Nice. Good camera work there, Roger, following me around here. Thank y'all. All right, that looks good. Now, you could always put more chocolate, but I think you'll find that 1 is about right. And then what we're going to do is close them and try to match the top to the shape of the bottom. All right. See how I'm kind of pressing those a bit too? All right, and this one. Now, at this point, you'll want to take these to the fridge to get them chilled. We want that chocolate to be firm for this next step. So, I'm going to put these 4 on a plate and hang in there for just a second. I have 4 in the fridge, and I'm going to bring those because they're already chilled. So, just listen to the background music for a minute while I run back here. La, 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 la. Very nice. Okay, so I'm back with 4 that have been chilled. And see the crust, you can't see, but the chocolate is really firm now, so it's going to be much easier to work with. And this is something you could even do a day ahead if you wanted to. But so now we're going to make the custard. Custard is simply dairy, milk, and eggs. And so I like to use half and half. You could use whole milk, that would be fine. You could use skim milk. It won't be near as lovely, I don't think, but anyway, we're just going to use some half and half. And the ratio, here's how you know how much to use. I use 1/3 of a cup of dairy and 1 egg per serving. So here I have 4, right? So I would use 4/3 of a cup. 1, 2, 3, 4. Very good. And I'm just going to reach around here to my eggs, and 1 egg per serving. Very easy. 1/3 of a cup and 1 egg. Simple to remember. Now we're going to stir this up. At this point, you could, you know, if you wanted to add a little vanilla, just for a little additional flavor, you could. You could add a little bit of sugar. We may do that. All right. So here we have, let's add a little bit, I'm not adding a lot, just a little, maybe a capful of vanilla for these 4. And some salt is good too, just a couple of shakes. All right, so we're going to blend that. So this is essentially custard. A lot of European desserts are made with custard, and it's just a very, it's a very subtle, but the texture is lovely when you eat it. So it's essentially, we're making a European French toast here. So, all right, so we've got that ready. I'm going to take this baking pan and we're going to butter it really well. Now, you can butter it, you can oil it, you can spray, you know, use the spray film if you want. I'm just going to use butter because I can. Oops. So, all right, we're just gonna get that nice and covered. And what we're doing is we're baking this. I love baking French toast and baking anything. If I can avoid having to cook something on the griddle, I usually will. So this is going to go into an oven that's about 375, 400, kind of a warm oven. So this is ready, our custard is ready. All right, so now what we have to do is we have to get the pieces of croissant soaked. And this, what I would suggest, needs to feel heavier. The piece needs to feel heavier after it's soaked than before it was. So if you feel how light this is now, and then you dip it, okay. I think I'm gonna dip that one twice, but I'm gonna do it in stages. This is good. You want it to soak that up. I was gonna do a few of these ahead of time and I forgot. But if you'll be patient with me, or we'll get this done. And so the idea is to use up as much of this custard on these 4 pieces as we can. Okay, I'm still thinking I'd like to double dip these to use up some more of that custard. You could even let them sit there for a minute or so and walk away and do something else. Oh, this one's feeling good. Okay. All right. Looks kind of weird, I know. It's gonna be delicious though, I promise. So we'll set that one down. Tops up. Let's put this one back in, shall we? Soak, soak. All right, press those cut sides in so it can, ooh, looking good. 2, and let's go back. You are going to be amazed. We're gonna pop these in a preheated oven, like I said, about 400. And they are going to cook in about 15 minutes, which I think is like super quick. So if you were doing this for breakfast, you know, you could plan on that amount of time for baking. Okay. All right, we're gonna call it good at that. We've got our 4 here on the pan. I'm going to pop these in the oven, and we'll come back in just a bit and see what things look like. We are back, and our baked chocolate croissant is about to come out of the oven. So there we go. It's been about 15 minutes. And I want you to look at this. The way you can tell if custard, which is eggs and milk, is done is that eggs puff. Can you see how puffy those pieces are? That means that it is done. And so as it cools, it is going to deflate and they will sink, but that's perfectly normal. And you know, they're already starting to do that a little bit. I would normally, well, if you were, I would normally, you know, take these off and put them on a serving platter, which we will do, but you could just let them cool here, cool completely to room temperature. And if you wanted to wrap them individually and put them in the freezer or the fridge to have later, you could certainly do that. So that's the wonderful thing about this dish. It can just be, you know, done so many ways. Now, the one I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest with you, completely honest. The one downside of this dish is the pan is going to be a little difficult to clean. And you do want to get a good spatula so you can lift those out. These are big portions also. And so it's very, you know, it wouldn't hurt to cut them in half. If you wanted to, you can serve those with maple syrup, or they are delicious, just plain. Okay, I'm gonna put that right there. You could, you know, just maybe put a little powdered sugar on them like that. Ooh, those look so beautiful. And take a look at that, Roger. But I do want to show you something. So the pan is going to be a little tricky. Scrape up as much stuff as you can, and then take it to the sink. Take it to the sink and let it sit for maybe 10 or 15 minutes with some soapy water, and it will clean right up. So I'm giving you that little tip. But I did want to show you one other thing, and I think I'll leave this here for a second. It happens that tomorrow we're having a little family brunch, and I am going to serve these, but I am going to take these and I am going to cut them in thirds, like this. Ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm going to cut them in thirds, just kind of the natural shape of the croissant. And I'm going to warm them gently in the oven. Maybe I can, ooh, can you see that? How delicious that's going to be? This is good cold. But I'm going to serve them as part of our brunch so that people can have a taste and not, you know, have to eat so much. But do it any way you like. Breakfast, dessert, snacking, you will enjoy it anytime, I promise.